the featherweights and the lightweights came out, and obviously everybody wanted to win. So, I mean, it's their last chance of trying to get into the playoffs, and so I think everybody came out and gave it all they got. So, yeah, congratulations to all the fighters that competed tonight, and good luck to the guys that's made it to the playoffs.
So, Ray, which fight stood out to you the most tonight?
I thought they were all pretty much evenly matched. Loic and Elias actually kicked the night off with a really good, toe-to-toe fight. And then it just kind of continued from there on in. Although we only had one finish tonight, which was Alex Gilpin was able to submit Freddy Sansao in the first round, which was also that fight, when people asked me what I thought of that fight, I was like, yeah, it's a 50-50 fight. They're both tough guys, and but Alex came down and he really wanted to make the playoffs, and they would pull off the submission. So congratulations to him.
How do you feel about tonight's draw?
Yeah, you guys know. But hey, listen, I'm not the judge, and if I did judge, that doesn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? Because there's 3 judges that's in the corner of that cage making those final decisions. So I'm going to leave that bit to them. I mean, I can, bitch and whatever behind the scenes kind of thing, but it is what it is, and so the majority draw, it is what it was. And so those guys still, I think they still made the playoffs, and so which was good for both of them.
Ray, are you happy with the majority of the decisions and the way they were called tonight?
There, going back to his question, there were decisions that I'm sure you guys also was like, what? What happened there? You know what I mean? So I was the same. I mean, Pete and I were looking at each other going, okay, but like I said, we're not the guys that makes that final decision. The commission does, the judges does, and so it is what it is. Oh, I gotta give Andre a big shout out, because when he came out and I thought he was done in that first round, referee did bow win, and man, did he come out going, nah, I'm going to the playoffs regardless. And so a big shout out to Andre Harrison, because he proved those are kind of things are what makes champions. When you get up from a dominating round like that and then come back to win the fight, it's pretty exciting. And like I said, those are kind of fights that makes champions.
Did you feel like that was a bit of a late hit coming out of the first round that Muffler should have been penalized for?
I didn't actually see the replay, but I think towards the end of towards the last fight, someone said something that there was a late hit. So again, that's the referee's job to kind of be in there real quick and either give a warning or take a point. You know what I mean? But again, aside of all that, the fact that Andre picked himself up, came back, and continued to do what he did, those are the kind of guys that I want to see. I want to watch every time, because when they're willing to get up and come back like that, again, as I said, that's what makes champions.
Ray, outside the cage for the second straight event here in Atlantic City, the crowd has really been into it. They've been really lively. I think in many ways you could say that the last 2 events have solidified your guys' decision to come back to Atlantic City, right?
Yeah, we love it out here. Ocean's been great to us, and of course, they've been a good partner. So, again, I'm sure you guys are aware that PFL 6 will be out here in 2 weeks, which is the light heavyweights and heavyweights. Again, looking forward to that, because those are the big guys. But tonight, every fight tonight, I was pleased with, because everybody came to fight. And although we didn't get that many finishes, we only had 1 finish. I thought everybody came to fight. Everybody came to win, and so that was impressive. 3 finishes. Who was that? Oh, that's right. Now that doesn't count. No, that's right. So
says the kickboxer.
That's true. So Lance finished Gilpin finished. Who was the other one?
Lamidov, first round.
Over Valiant King.
First round TKO.
Oh yes,
Islam Lamidov,
correct.
over Valiant Chong.
You see how excited I was? I completely forgot.
The judging distracted you.
Yeah, exactly. I was too busy focused on those judges.
All right, to go back on Andre and Morgan. Number one spot in the playoffs. Going into your fight, obviously you're going against a guy who made waves with his pressing fight last time. Going in, knowing he's training in jiu-jitsu and you're grappling. Going into what's going through your process on that?
There was a lot of questions about him being 30-something and 1, 34 and 1, I believe. And that was the main question I got the whole time instead of like what I thought about his skill set and everything. And so I think it was masked on him talking a lot about my fight style and the way that he thought the fight was going to play out. And I knew that he was going to be dangerous in the first round and that he was going to fade, so it was just going to be to drag him in deep water and drown him in the third, and that's what happened.
Just going into the third round, you showed more dominance again, and beautiful transition that you have from the leg lock and laying the ground and pound on him. And obviously you lived up to your nickname, the party, because you were having a party after you knocked him out.
Yeah, it was, I felt him fade in the second round, but I didn't do enough to make him quit in the second. So I knew in the third I had to get him in a position that he was uncomfortable, and obviously in the first and second he was acting comfortable on bottom, but you never win in the fight down there. So landing those heavy punches, starting to break his body down, break his head down a little bit, and then in the third he had to make moves and he had to try and move underneath because he knew he was losing the fight. And then the first round was close, so I knew that I had to win the second and third at least. But when I felt him kind of break, and I think I hurt him with the left hook it was in the third before I got the takedown because he kind of just went down. I didn't really have to take him down in that round. So maybe I could have finished him on the feet there, but that's where he's most dangerous. So why play his game? Make him play my game, and that's how I got the win.
So the party's headed to Las Vegas.
Yep.
How's that help you? How's the setting help you prepare for your fight?
It's awesome. I mean, I love Vegas. That was my home last year. I trained there all last year for that season. So it's awesome to be back for the playoffs there, and I'm excited for it. But it's a new year. It's not last season. Just like Natan was saying, you're not the champ. It's a new season. Like the Patriots aren't the champs right now. It's a new season coming up for them. I look at it. Every fight is a new fight. The fight ahead of me against don't ask me to pronounce his name, but the 8 seed. That's the first fight that I have under my belt, and he beat Seiler on May 23rd, so I have to go back and kind of watch that and kind of see how he won that fight. And I know that he trains at AKA with those guys over there, and I have a little history with those guys just from training at Alpha Male and cross training there in the past. So I know he's tough, and I know he'll be a great opponent. So that's what I have to focus on first.
And Lance, you're an awesome fighter, but Papa Palmer stole the show.
He always
Can you talk about what it means for you to have your pops here, and do you tend to hear him when you're in the cage?
Is that a real question? I don't think anybody can't hear him in the cage. But it means everything to me because he's been by my side since I was 9 years old when I started wrestling. And there's times where we butt heads a lot, but there's more times that we get along, and I'd rather him be here anytime than not be here. So it's awesome to see that support because I had a lot of friends growing up that didn't have support from their parents in baseball or football or whatever sport they did play. So it's he was the extreme wrestling dad growing up, but I wouldn't expect it any other way. It's just support. That's how he expresses his love and support for me. So I think it's awesome.
Lance, we can't let you get out of here without talking about your finish. Because clearly you were a little upset that somebody wasn't talking about that earlier.
I know, what the heck is that
right? What
doing?
is that about? Talk us through that.
He didn't even remember the other finish either, so I guess I don't feel as bad.
Feel it.
No, it was great. It was my first TKO victory. It was nice because it was against a guy who just had a knockout victory in 23 seconds over a very tough Jeremy Kennedy. in May. So that was really good, and everybody was talking about 34-1 record going into this fight, and he was talking about me being a boring fighter and a lot of different things before the fight. So that's what's cool about the sport, though, is you can talk all the trash you want, but when you get in there, you never felt anything like this. So that's what it comes down to in the long run of it. And everybody was like, I got all these messages like, dude, what the heck was that dance? It's called the Bernie. I don't know what people don't even know what that is, but I had to do the Bernie because we talked about it. Yeah, so yeah, Weekend at Bernie's, same thing. So I had to bust it out.
Overall, how do you feel about this performance? I know the last one you came out with the 3 rounds, you got the decision, but now we're giving the TKO. How do you feel about the performance?
Well, I mean, you saw Gilpin's finish early, against a tough guy, Sun Sao, even though Sun Sao had a long layoff and his career's kind of been, a lot of layoffs throughout his career, so he only had like 10 or 11 fights. But a Sun Sao, the family name, the other Sun Sao is a beast in the UFC, and so there's a lot of history with that family, and so for Gilpin to go out and get that finish early in the first round like that and be able to put him away, it's great for me because I had a tough fight with him and I dropped him in the first and didn't get the finish, and he's a tough guy, so that was great to kind of see him win. It's always good to see guys win. You wouldn't want to see guys that you beat losing. It doesn't, it always makes you look better when the guys that you're beating are winning after you beat him. So, and I mean, that goes for everybody. You always want to see that guy win the other fights, obviously not against you, but the other fights after that, or leading up to your next challenge with that person, that's what you want to see, because it just shows that you're showing dominance throughout the division when they're winning. So but no, to go back to your point about getting the finish in this fight, it was awesome. And before the fight, I only had 3 points. And then we saw the draw between Harrison and Mobley, and then we saw, who had the other, somebody else had 6 points too before I can't remember what else it was, but, the guy that I fought, he had 6 points before. So going into that, it was like, down, like the seeds don't matter. You still got to fight and beat everybody to be the best anyway. So it's cool to be the top seed, but I wasn't the top seed last year. And I feel that if we had a strong side of the bracket last year, and it's a strong side again this year going into the 8-man tournament. So you gotta take each fight seriously, take one fight at a time, and go from there. But I'm excited.
Going into training camp, obviously you guys been training excruciating. You, Frankie, Eddie, then you had your best friend Juan come over to help out because you guys are fighting within 2 weeks of each other. How was training camp going through with that process?
It was awesome. It's awesome to have Juan out here. I mean, he's going to be a world champ in Bellator in 10 weeks. So having a guy of his caliber out here training with me, a guy that I've trained with in the past, a guy with the wrestling background, we've known each other for a long time. Having Frankie, who's a legend of the sport, 155-pound champion, going for a 145-pound title this weekend. Eddie Alvarez, multi-organization champion. He's fighting next weekend. Marlon just came off of a tough loss against Cejudo, but I mean, there's just a lot of killers in there and a lot of knowledge more than anything. And having Mark Henry as a coach, and Ricardo as a coach, and Casey Halstead as a coach from Vegas. I mean, these are people that are invaluable with their knowledge and their help that they've done for me to get to this point. And before, when I made weight yesterday, I was talking to a couple of, I think it was Juan and Coach Casey, about it's not your choice. Like, you have no choice when it comes to making or missing weight with these guys. Like, making weight's hard for everybody, for the most part. It's not the easy part, but you don't do it for yourself. You're doing it for your family, your coaches, the people who support you. Those are the people you let down when you miss. So making weight and, being a professional, it's not an option. That's something that that's your reflection of them. So there's no missing weight. There's no going out there and not performing your best, because you want to put, their best reflection through you in the cage.
And can you talk about you and Juan's relationship? Because you guys have a lot of fun and jokes on Instagram. Talk about that, because it's hilarious.
I think it's just that's just the way it is. I think it's a wrestling mentality. Just like wrestlers have always been that way. Like growing up, you're not afraid to joke around and just be crazy and have fun. Like this sport's this sport's crazy enough, you know? A win or a loss is whatever. The sport's crazy. Anything can happen in the cage. I mean, you could get knocked out, you could get finished. All that stuff is serious enough. So every day I like to have fun. I'm always doing stupid stuff. Even when I'm at home with my wife, she's like, "You're an idiot." I'm just always, I like to have fun. Like, they don't call me the party for no reason. That's how I've been since I was a little kid. So I like to have fun, but I know when to turn it on and get serious and go for gold.
Lance, speaking of the wrestling, you know, you've been a champion. You mentioned Frank Yeager. You mentioned Eddie Alvarez. And tonight we saw some high-level dominant wrestling. I mean, your hip control, your scrambling. I think sometimes people overlook the importance of wrestling in mixed martial arts. Can you talk about that a little bit, about the fact that, you know, guys like you guys have been so effective with your wrestling in a world where sometimes people overlook that wrestling is such a great foundation for this game?
Well, the main thing is that a lot of people think it's boring if they don't understand what you're doing. And when it comes to fights and you hear people boo or you say people are boring, it's because they either don't understand wrestling or they just want to see a bloodbath. And if that person was on bottom, they'd feel like they were being suffocated the whole time. So I take it with a grain of salt, but there's some people you see on Twitter and Instagram like, all right, get on the mat, let's go, a couple minutes. I guarantee you wouldn't last a minute and a half in my world. So that's kind of what I think of it now. I used to get so pissed about it. It's be like, dude, I don't know why they think like high level wrestling is so boring, but it's just, that's how people are. People get mad if you're gonna knock somebody out. Oh, he got lucky, he caught him, this or that. There's always gonna be naysayers. You just gotta put it to the side and keep winning.
Thank you very much, Lance.
Thank you guys.
Feeling in that environment. So it was good to get my toes wet, and now that I did, it felt a little better this way. So.
Yeah, a guy like a Sunset too, a pretty like seasoned veteran,
Yeah.
has a big name with him too.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel like this is the biggest win of your career?
Yeah, no, just put it that way. I guess it is. The guy hasn't lost since 2009, so I guess it is.
Do you feel any pressure coming into this fight? You need to win to get to the playoffs?
Absolutely, yeah. I thought about it every night going to bed, but in that cage, that wasn't on my mind. It was just get the win however I could, whether it was the finish or the 15 minutes. So I was ready to go to the duration as well. But found the finish in the first round, thankfully. We don't get paid for overtime, so glad I get it done quick.
How are you feeling about playoff as far as fighting twice and to get in?
Well, never fought twice in a night, but wrestled about 12 times in a day. So, I'll take that with me. But, it'll be different. I'll train a little different. Have to train hard, take about an hour or two rest, and get another good session in, something like that. But, feeling good. Feeling great.
The distance with Lance Palmer in the last fight, you just gonna stick around to watch that, and are you looking forward to a potential rematch in the play?
Yeah, absolutely. Love to get that one back. He's a great dude, but I think it'll be different next time.
I feel like a Big Ten match in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I haven't wrestled in Wisconsin for a year, but if they want to play it like that, they can.
You mentioned your wrestling. It really seemed like you were just totally persistent in to get that finish. Is that kind of come from that wrestling background, the persistence?
Yeah, my submission game is, it's a combination of my wrestling, but it's my jiu-jitsu. I got a very unorthodox attacks when I'm on top, off my back, everything, So I guess that's not wrestling in itself, but the wrestling gets you there, and then the top control keeps you on top. So from there, that's when the submission game that's unorthodox can take over. So.
Thanks, Alex.
This win puts you closer to getting to the championships New Year's Eve. What would that fight mean to you, besides winning $1 million, which who doesn't want that?
Everything. Obviously, the belt's on my mind, but man, it's a life changer. To be financially stable from just doing this sport, that'd be amazing, it'd be incredible. And it's one step closer to doing that tonight. So.
Guys, you're fighting in the draw. Going after that first round, Ray Sefo spoke how you coming back. What was said to you in that corner? What went through your mind during the process?
And what was said to me in the corner was, yo, you alright? I was like, yeah, I knew the first round didn't go, good at all, for lack of a better term. And so, I figured that if nothing else, if I was going to lose or go out, I was going to go out on my shield. So I went out in that second round, I put some things together, and, lo and behold, it landed, it worked. He got cut, and we ended rounds 2 and 3 in an all-out war.
Obviously, say outstanding wrestler. What with his wrestling as well, but you can find me. Was it game plan to not to wrestle as much because you expected him to almost like attack me?
As far as like me and my camp, we don't really do like game plans like this is what you're gonna do when you go out there. I train all facets, striking, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and so I feel comfortable wherever the fight goes. If I just happen to get an easy takedown, I'm like, might as well just keep getting them. If I land some clean shots, and I just keep throwing, so I kind of just let the flow of the fight go.
And obviously, for the last question from me, your opponent in the playoffs is Alex Gilpin, another wrestler. What do you expect from within that fight as well, too?
He's a tough dude, man. He's definitely a gamer. You seen him come out here tonight, get a first round guillotine. I mean, it was like damn near a strangulation. I don't know if y'all saw it. I came out right in time and seen it. That was a serious guillotine, man. But he's a tough dude. He's a gamer. And again, I think it'll be another fun fight for the fans, just like I said this one would be.
The key thing in that first round, he hit that infamous flying knee. Did that really, did it stun you a little bit? You know what I'm saying? Or was it like just a little?
Honestly, if we're gonna be completely honest, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure. I don't really remember getting hit with the knee too good. I just remember I was trying to shoot up on a single leg after that, and I got hit again, and I got hit again, and I was like, shit, boy. It's a long 10 seconds because I heard the dude on the clock. I was like, it's a long 10 seconds, man. And then, in the middle of the round, I was like, man, I gotta come out, I gotta do better this next round. Something gotta give.